In this video, I'm going to show you how I turned this old cabinet into this new cabinet for my client's bathroom. I started by giving the entire piece a light scuff sanding. I know it looks like I might be sanding all the way down to bare wood, but I'm actually just lightly sanding off the old finish because I'm going to be doing a paint wash on this piece, so I don't need to get all the way down to bare wood. Now I have this handy little tool to get in all those details and crevices on my piece. This is a great tool to have on hand when you have a piece like mine with these details. Next, I'm going to remove the grid and the glass from my cabinet doors so that it will be easier to paint. These were actually really easy to remove because they didn't have the staples that are sometimes used for this part of a piece of furniture, so I got lucky with that. Now I'm ready for painting. I used one of my favorite brands, Fusion Mineral in Coal Black. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to do a paint wash. So I did half paint and half water. Give it a good mixing and then you're ready to paint. It will look pretty thin and watery, and that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. So now I'm just painting it on the section of this piece. So I like to work in sections so it doesn't dry out too fast. With this paint wash, you really have plenty of time to do a section like this, about this size, before it dries out. So I'm painting it on in a nice, thin, even coat. And once I'm happy with how much paint I have on, then I take a T-shirt rag and I just wipe back the excess, making sure that I'm going with the wood grain and kind of like working on it until I'm happy with the way that it looks. You can really go over this quite a few times because it's very forgiving. And don't worry, the first coat looks much more streaky and kind of dry than the second coat does. Once you get that second coat on there, it just looks like a gorgeous walnut stain. Now here's the base of the piece, and I just wanted to show you this because this is exactly why I use the angled brush, because it just gets into these crevices and corners so well. It makes painting these details a lot easier. One quick reminder, when you're doing crevices and corners, don't worry about getting all the paint out from the crevices. It actually is going to give the piece dimension, so you don't need to worry about getting all of that paint off. Now here's the second coat. You can see that it's going on a lot darker and a bit more even. Even as I'm wiping it off, now it's starting to look more like a stain instead of a paint wash. So I did 2 coats on this piece and I was happy with the way that looked. But you can do 1 more coat if you want a more solid look. Next, I started working on the grid for my cabinet doors. I started by painting a little bit on, but that actually wasn't working so well, so I switched to just kind of painting and wiping it on with my cloth. So I just kept dipping my finger into the cloth and kind of painting, wiping it on, and that worked really well. Don't forget to do all the little details as well. So I just want to show you what it looks like before the top coat. So it's going to look a little bit dry and not quite finished. But once you add that top coat, it really brings out the color and accentuates that wood grain look. So I'm just brushing on my Polycrylic with my 2-inch flat Zibra brush, and I'm just wiping off any little bits of dust or pollen that I see as I'm working. Next, it's time to remove the back for something fun. My client chose this beautiful liner, which I'm going to just put on the back of the piece. So I removed the back of the piece because it'll be a lot easier to just put these two pieces on as opposed to trying to cut and measure and put them in between the shelves. So really the trickiest part is just lining up the two pieces, and then I take my X-Acto knife and I trim off the excess. I soaked all the hardware in a mix of water, vinegar, and Dawn dish soap, and then polished it with steel wool. Now I'm going to restore the inside of the drawers with this furniture salve from Wise Owl. So I'm just taking a t-shirt cloth and kind of wiping it on in circular and straight motions, really just trying to get it into the wood grain. This will condition and restore the wood, especially when it's older and kind of dried out. This is going to make a big difference. So you polish it on and then let it sit for at least 15 minutes. I usually just let it go for like an hour or so. Once it had set for about 30-40 minutes, I took a clean t-shirt rag to buff off the excess. This wood was pretty dry, so it soaked in really well, and there wasn't really any excess on my rag. And here's how it turned out. I absolutely love the finished product. Check the description for the complete supply list and let me know if you have any questions and what you think.